Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining for take two. So we'll be going again, just as a refresher. I'm going to be working on CSS Zen Garden. So this is essentially a challenge to take like a simple HTML page, which is the one that is shown here, and design it with CSS. So it looks fancy and pretty, and however you want to do it. So before we get started, though, yesterday I talked a little bit about some different CSS layouts, and I did want to give an example of kind of something that I had done in CSS Grid to show you what that looks like just before we get started here. So I'm going to kind of come in here. Sorry, port 8080. So this is a website that I made for my boyfriend, who's an artist. And it's still a work in progress. It's not live yet, which is why it's local. But this is a layout that's done in Grid. So taking a look at the actual code, let me do a new Git bash window here. Okay. So that could work. Okay, so just taking a look at the code to show you kind of how it's set up. So the HTML, on the home page has the container, and then it has the different classes. So it has artist, landscapes, figures, and illustrations. And then all of the layout is done here in the CSS. So this is something that I did from scratch. So I think yesterday I was having a little bit of trouble kind of wrapping my head around adding a layout to HTML that was already made. But this is an example of using a grid template. So this is the actual container has the grid. The grid template is setting up the columns. So this is essentially saying we're going to have one column that's 40%, and then the other two are going to be split up between two fractionals. And then the rows start at 10%, and that's the header row, essentially, and the rest of the page is split up in half. So this is also the gap, the column gap, row gap, and then the 100% view height and the 100% view width for the container. So, and then what each section does is with the header, the artist, landscape, figures, and illustrations, just sets the grid area. So this is column start, column end, row start, row end for each section. And so that's how you get from, an HTML that just looks like this, just 4 simple divs essentially, and turn it into an actual layout. And then each page, has its own gallery, so to speak, that goes back. So just wanted to kind of give a demo of what that is. That is, since it's not live yet, it's in a private repo right now, but it will be public once I have it completed. So make sure to check out GitHub for that. And then a quick note too, before we get started, there is a poll on my site for the regular project that I do on the stream, which is the Mern Stack app, whether to deploy it in Heroku or Netlify. So I've used Heroku before, have not used Netlify, so would be open to doing either one. We're pretty far away from deployment at this point, so you have plenty of time to vote, but if you could just mark off which one you're more interested in seeing, that'd be great. So. Okay, so CSS Zen Garden. Like I said yesterday, I really didn't have a plan or anything going in. Stream got cut off pretty early due to some technical issues. So we'll kind of just dive right back into it. So let me go ahead and get that repo opened up and we can take a look at the code. What did I name it again? CSS Zen Garden. Okay, so HTML file and then an empty CSS file. I didn't save any of the changes yesterday because nothing really had happened so far. But to start with, just taking a look, getting this open here. This is the actual HTML. And yesterday I was taking a look at Flexbox for the layout. And like I said, I was having a bit of trouble kind of wrapping my head around adding Flexbox to divs that were already set up. So where I didn't really have control over the divs. So I think just given the time constraints and given the spirit of the project, I'm just going to kind of do some hacky CSS to get this laid out the way that I want to. And definitely open to suggestions making it better. Definitely open to some refactoring later on, but that way we can kind of get some stuff going here. So taking a look at the code, the index, I think we figured out yesterday that the kind of the main sections are, this is like here to here is one section, here to here is another whole section, and then this is actually the sidebar. It's actually marked off as a sidebar in the code, and that is down here is sidebar. So the first thing I want to do, I guess, is just the intro section. The intro, it's a div called intro here, which is that first block. I want to go ahead and center that. So I take a look here, and it looks like it's class intro. So let's just kind of, and I don't know if I need to display block, but let's just go ahead and do with the 50%, you know, just have it take up the middle of the screen. And I'm going to try and do margin auto and see if that div is set up. Basically, if it's display a block, you can do margin auto and that centers it. Otherwise, I can do like text center. So let's take a look and see what that does. Okay, good. So that pretty much puts the entire div in the middle of the page. I think I do want this to be completely centered, the actual title, because I'll probably do something kind of cool with that. So that is, I believe, an H1. Yes, it is. So let's go ahead and do intro H1. And this is basically a nested. So it's going to be any H1 inside of an intro class. And we're going to do text align center and see if that works. Yes, okay, great. So next section we have here, okay, so the sidebar kind of needs to be on the right-hand side. What is the name of this next middle section? What is this about? So main. So I think if we take this div, and again, this isn't like the best CSS probably, but if we take main and float it left and then sidebar and float it right, and then kind of divvy up the widths, I think that we can get this to work. So main, we're going to do float left, and let's just say it's like a 40% width. Oops, might help if I put the what are they called? This is the selector, this is the property, and this is, or the attribute, no, property or attribute, and this is the value. I've known CSS for a long time, but never like fully. Okay, so that is left and that is right. I think we probably need to set some margins here to make this look nicer. So let's see. So I did with the 50%. I guess I probably need to set a width for the sidebar as well, and I want to float that right. Actually, maybe I don't even need to set a width. Maybe if I just float it right, that'll make it look okay. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. I definitely want to set a margin on either side of this and squish them together a little bit more and see. So maybe for this margin right of 10% and margin, I usually like to use, well, for the other project I just showed you with the CSS grid, I was using REM measurements instead of percentages because that's a little bit better when you're talking about responsiveness and having it work on different screen sizes. But like I said, we're kind of doing some hacky CSS tonight because it's Thursday, it's late. Okay, so layout wise, that looks better. Got a bit of a gutter here. Things are kind of lining up in the middle. The only thing that I don't like is how much longer this column is, and then also this is supposed to be a footer. So I think that I would want that to be separate, but because this entire section is floated left, that's going to cause issue. I really can't center this unless it's its own separate div. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't think that, yeah, so that's going to entail the let me take a look at this HTML. So the HTML has the sidebar last as an aside, probably because and then, so let me see, which part is it that goes on too far? So benefits even is pretty, well, requirements is a much bigger chunk. So I feel like that could be broken off, whereas content-wise, participation benefits kind of goes together more. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the requirements div and the footer div. I'm going to put them after the sidebar, after the aside here, so I can format it separately from the rest of the block that it's in. Okay, so that's fine. It has to do with the floats. It's kind of pulling up next to it, but we can do some goofy stuff here and get that fixed up. So that's a class of requirements and then footer. So if I do requirements, and I think if I do like a margin top of, I don't know, if it's like 5% just to kind of see, and then margin left auto, margin right auto, and then I'm going to do a width of 50% again, so it matches the intro part. Okay, so maybe I need to set the margin bottom here. There's something called a Clearfix hack whenever you're using floats to get things to push down like that. So if I need to, I can look that up. If you just Google Clearfix hack, it's like a code, like a snippet that you can just paste in CSS. But I'm going to see if I can kind of make this work on my own. So what's happening is because the sidebar is so much shorter, it's just like sliding up next to it. So I need to get it to clear the sidebar far enough down. So let me just like push this way down. And then I shouldn't really need like a margin top here if I have it set up margin bottom. Okay. All right. So that's clearing that. And then I still have this here. So let's see what that does. There we go. That's like, there we go. Okay. Okay. I think that could still be a little bit, well, I don't know. That looks pretty good. I feel like maybe I want to have benefits also be part, well, I think it makes sense to have the content group together more so than making the layout forced a certain way. Okay, and then the footer. The footer is like way over here now, so I need to have that centered as well. So, and its footer isn't a class, it's just an HTML element, so that doesn't need a dot in front of it. And then I think it's just text, so I won't be able to do the margin auto, but if I text align center. Okay, and then I do, though, want to give it a little bit of margin on top, maybe just like 5%. And then a little bit on bottom too. All right, so let's see what we're working with here. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Okay. All right. We got a little bit here, we got a little bit there, benefit participation. Okay, so I feel like this is a layout that I can live with. It's probably not the most responsive. Nope, it's not. Oh God, it looks terrible. So yeah, it kind of like breaks my heart for this not to be mobile responsive. So why don't we do, let's see if I can, I'll just do a quick media query to make this where if it's less than a certain amount, it's all just like one column. So, because that's going to drive me crazy. So at media screen and max width. I think, let me look up some breakpoints here. So like mobile, oh, well, actually, I don't need to look it up. It's going to be here. So let's say like a pixel, so 400. Yeah, so even though like, let's kind of look at like a bigger phone, 370, oh, that's smaller, 400. So let's say max width 400. Oh, well, some of them are above 400. 640, geez. Okay, maybe I do want to look up some breakpoints. Media query breakpoints. It's not my first time searching this. I search it all the time. Typical breakpoints here. Always designed for mobile first. Okay. Typical device breakpoints. Here we go. Okay, so min width is 600. So max width 600 for phones. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do it in max width 600. And then what's the exact syntax here? Media only screen and then in parentheses. Max width 600 pixels. Okay, and the way that media queries work, if you're not super familiar with them, basically it's almost like a mini style sheet that is applied when you have the screen set at that size. So in this case, whenever the screen, so media screen, and then the max width is 600. So whenever you have a screen smaller than 600 pixels, any CSS that you write in here will override whatever is already there. So you want to write your media queries after, because if, say, for example, you had this one right after main, or just you had it further up, then when you have that, then this would override it here. So you want to have them at the bottom so that they can override whatever exists above it. So, so what we're saying is for a small screen, instead of having main float left and sidebar float right, we're just going to have it all kind of together. So I'm going to do, so main, and again, this is like all new CSS, so you're going to have to do the selector again, and then you have the brackets within it, so it's kind of nested together. So we're going to have float none, and then same thing with sidebar. We're going to do float none, and then yeah, I think I'm going to do width like 80% for everything on a small device. So width 80%, width 80%, and then same thing with intro. Instead of having it 50%, I'm going to do width 80%, so that it takes up more of the screen since it is a smaller screen. So now when I go back here, so we can see kind of like how this looks like on a pixel. It's kind of a little bit goofy here with the widths and everything. So if I refresh, boom, so now we can see it's like the same width all the way down. Okay, so kind of goofy here still. Looks like we got some margin stuff going on with the sidebar is like all the way to the left, and then requirements is still too narrow, so we got to make sure we add that into the media query as well. So requirements, we're going to have a width of 80% instead of 50, and then so that's already margin auto, that's fine. Sidebar, it's because I have a margin right of 10%, so we're going to want to take that out. We're going to do margin right auto and margin left auto to override that. And let's see what that does. Okay, so I'm also going to take the margin top off of there as well. But everything else looks good. Okay, So that makes me happier. I was really sad that it was going to look disgusting on mobile. So let's see, we have this, the footer is fine. Okay, it's this sidebar margin bottom. So we're going to take that off as well. So margin bottom, let's just set to auto, I think should work, because that should just be whatever the default is. So there we go. All right, that's looking good. It's responsive. That makes me happy. Mobile first. Okay, so even on an iPad though, it still looks yucky. So why don't we have that be the same breakpoint even for medium devices? So I think that we should do max width of landscape tablets. I think landscape tablets we can get away with it, but let's go ahead and go to 768 and see what that does. So instead of 600, we're going to do 768. I lied. Let's do 800 because I wanted to look good on an iPad too. So save. Oh, I took out the PX. That's why it wasn't working. So maybe 768 will still be good. There we go. Okay, so look good on an iPad, and then on an actual website, we'll have this kind of columned look, so it's a little bit more stylistic and isn't just one big block of text the entire way down. Okay, great. So got the layout done. Let's kind of do some font styling. So I think I want to do sans serif. Let's kind of take a look. Definitely the H tags. Kind of want to do something sans serif. So let's kind of see here. So like H1s, font family sans serif, and kind of, yeah, that looks better. And then let's do this for like H2, H3 as well. See how that looks. Okay, that's looking better. And then what do we want our, I guess maybe we could try like to see for Dana. No. I usually use Google Fonts, which we may end up doing. Let's try Gil Sans, if I can't find a built-in one that I like. Okay. All right, let's see what Google Fonts has to offer. Probably a lot because they're great. I think it's already on here somewhere. I took off of my little icon. Yeah, Fonts.Google, so I could have more on my sidebar, but now I don't recognize all the icons. Okay, so I definitely want something sans serif. Handwriting display, or okay, so, and it's going to say CSS Zen Garden, so we might as well have it look like that. And I kind of want it to be big, right? So I mean, I love Roboto like all the time, but I feel like I need to get away from that for this one. And I want to do something kind of bolder, a little more like pop arty. So let's do Oswald. Oswald's great. Oh, Poppins looks pretty good too. And so does Big Shoulder Sex, which is pretty similar to Oswald, I'll be honest. Quicksand, I always love Quicksand. I'm pretty basic with all the things that I choose. So I'm kind of, like I said, I am going kind of for like a bold pop art look. So the Sarah semi-condensed is nice. Let's stick with Oswald. Let's go back up here. Yeah, let's do Oswald. So we're going to add this in. And we can go ahead and embed it into our HTML up at the top. So essentially it's just like a style sheet. You just link it in here. And then in the CSS, and I mean, Google Fonts is great. It tells you exactly how to do it. Your font family is going to be Oswald and sans serif. So let's get that pasted in here. Boom. Yes. Okay, great. And so I definitely want this H1 to have a bigger font size though, and maybe even transform it a bit. So we already have an intro H1. So font size, I don't know, let's like do big. Let's kind of see what that looks like. And then text transform to capitalize. Yes. Okay, so I definitely like that better. So this is an abbreviation tag, which is why it's having dots underneath it. So if you take a look at the HTML, I didn't know what this was until I looked at it, but there's an ABBR. So it represents an abbreviation or acronym, and that's why when you hover over it, it kind of has this cascading style sheets. But I don't really like that underline on it. So I'm not sure what that's like built in, but let's see if we can take it out. So this isn't, like I said, this is not a class. It's an HTML element. So we don't need a dot. We just put the ABBR. And then let's do text decoration none and see if that does anything, because that's usually how you add an underline. This is dots. So, okay, that did work. So basically that just removed whatever the default is for an abbreviation, which apparently has the underlined dots there. And yeah, so I am liking kind of the look of the serif paragraph text next to the sans serif like heading text on this. So I think I'm going to keep that. I think it looks sharp. But we definitely want to get rid of this like blue and purple link color. So let's actually let's think about some colors. So I think I want to do kind of like a pink, like a pretty pink background. So let's get some, let's see, there's a really good, like, I had a color scheme, maybe it's under CSS, gradient borders. I have best flat colors, UI design. Okay, yes, this is what it was. So this is flatUIcolorpicker.com. I kind of just shows some different color combinations. So let's take a look at the reds, and then I think that maybe, no, okay, it's not. And then we want hexadecimal colors. So I want a pink. I think radical red is pretty cool. Sunset orange looks great too, but I think I do want something that that's pretty bright. I don't know if that's going to be too bright for people because you do want it to be kind of, so I'm almost thinking that maybe I'll just go to the home page, and that way I can kind of get a better sense of some other kind of pinks. So if I click on this radical red, oh, that didn't work. Okay, let me just try doing this then. Copied. So if I come back here and I just do, you know, my good old body tag, and I do background color, let's see how blinding this is. And I need to go back to my CSS and then, ooh, that's pretty bright. I kind of like it, but I think I could go a little less bright. So let me kind of hover over here, and that's going to make it darker, but I don't really necessarily want darker. I want to go paler. So let's try this color. Let's see. Yes. Okay. I like that. And I wonder if this is pale, too pale though to have white links, because I like the idea, I think, of doing my A tags. Color just like bright white. Okay, so they still show. They still show. So let's kind of do some fun stuff. I I also just don't want there to be text decoration, none. I don't want there to be any underline in the links. And I'm also second guessing the font choice here. I do like it sans serif, but I feel like we could do something that pops a little bit more. So let's take a look here, just kind of some paragraph text. And let's make this smaller, you know. Oh, Manjari's cute. Honestly, like picking out, oh, Montserrat. I always go for Montserrat, but that's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. So we will need to update our link here, because now we have 2 fonts in our HTML file. And oops, embed. And let's see what this looks like. And then we're going to do all of our P tags are going to be font family. Oh, that's already all copy pasted. So let's see how this looks. Yes, okay. I'm liking this way better. And I also want this download the example HTML and CSS file, I think, to be centered, just so it kind of like pops out a little bit more, and maybe also make the whole line bold. So let me take a look at the index or the HTML for that and see if there's anything specific about that line, right, that I can use to pull it out of the HTML and give it a specific style. So download the example. Okay, so it is within a class. There's no ID for it, but I think, okay, so let's take a look at some selectors. So if we do summary and then P, but then, or maybe if we do summary and then second child, we'll be able to isolate this P tag specifically. So let me just look up again how to do nth child, CSS nth child, to make sure that I'm doing this right. Okay, so P, that is the second child of its parent, but I don't want all of them, just so I need to make sure I'm putting it within that class. So specificity, so it's going to be class of summary. We're still kind of in the intro. I like to kind of keep things grouped together where they are in the page. I think it's supposed to be block element, the modifier, BEM, depending on what kind of CSS formatting that you're using. Like I said, we're doing some hacky Wild West stuff tonight, so bear with me. But okay, so we're doing it within the class of summary. We want to take the P tag, that is the nth child, and it's going to be the second child. And we're going to do font weight of bold, and then text align of center. And let me see if I did that right. Drum roll. Oh, did it. That's my first time successfully actually using a nth child selector. I usually don't. Usually I just, because I have control over the HTML more, so I just throw a bunch of IDs in there. But that's pretty cool. Pretty excited about that. So, beauty of CSS design, the road to enlightenment, select a design. Definitely want to do something cute, I think, with these. What is happening? Oh boy. Oh, I know what's happening. So, because I changed, okay, there's a couple of things happening down here too that we can take a look at. Also, this footer text is not matching up, maybe because it's outside of the body. That's good to know. Same thing with these links over here, the sidebar. Okay, all right, we can work on that. But yeah, so what's happening is I think because I changed the font size, there's some goofy things happening with the margin now. So I think I am going to need to do that Clearfix hack just to make sure that that always works out the right way. So we're going to go ahead and Google that. So Clearfix Hack CSS, basically how to clear floats. So you can see this is kind of what I'm talking about, where if you have a float, the thing underneath it will just kind of keep sliding up next to it. That's the same thing that's happening on our page. This is just kind of sliding up next to it, and we want that to clear it completely. So what you do is you add overflow auto to the containing element to fix this problem. So if an element is taller than the element containing it and it is floated, it will overflow outside its container. So, okay, so the new modern clear, this is the one we're supposed to use. Okay, Clearfix after. And so I think we need to put this on the one that's floating, which is both of them really, main and sidebar. So Clearfix after, and we need to add this class of Clearfix. So let me take a look at the code here. Yeah, so Clearfix class has been added to the containing element. So I believe that in this case, our containing element is going to be the main class. So let's try this. And then I think we may need to add a sidebar also, but let me just double check. Okay, and then let me try adding it to sidebar also. Nope, that did not work. Okay, so let me try doing what I had before, where I just kind of changed the bottom. Okay, I think this just needs to be increased a little bit here. Okay, there we go. Now it's clearing it again. But so I do need to figure out why the sidebar is not taking the font of Montserrat. I think it's because it's outside the body, which it shouldn't be, but oh, it's because it's not a P tag. It's because these are all list items. So what I really need to do is just put this here, and then the H ones will override it because they're more specific, but there we go. So now all of these are also following that same font, and they look great. The only thing I don't like again is just now that there's not really enough margin. So I'm going to add a little bit of margin to the sidebar. So where's my sidebar? Right here. And I think we just really just need like 5%, but let me just double check that. Oh God. Okay. Nope. 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 We're undoing whatever that was. Okay, so instead we're going to do on the main, we're going to add a little bit of margin on the right. Nope, never mind. Whenever I try and change margin, it never works out. So actually, why don't we just change the width of main to 40%? I don't know what's happening. I do know what's happening. There needs to be like no room. Okay, so never mind. We're just going to go back. We're going to go back. Pretend this never happened. This is me with CSS, by the way. It's always been like the bane of my existence. I spend a lot of time just doing goofy things to make it work. I think instead what I need to do is add some padding to the sidebar. Like 3% maybe. Nope. Nope. Anything I try to change, it's just it's that Clearfix. It's because of the float. It's just giving it issues. It's gonna keep just trying to slip up there. So I think I need to also just add like a margin bottom to main. And let me just check here. That should. Okay, but it doesn't need to be that big. Margin bottom, maybe just like 5%. Okay, that's not too bad. So now if I change main width to like 45%, okay, all right, we're getting closer. I can feel it, we're so close. And it changed this to 10%. Nope. Okay, it's too much. It's because it's too much. That's why. There we go. Okay. I love it. Yeah, this is great. So we have a little bit more of a gutter in between. We still cleared the bottom here. And how bad does this look on mobile? That's the only thing about having hacky CSS is that it's just goofy. But nope, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. And then on mobile, that looks good. That looks good. I like it. All right, sweet. All right, so we have layout, we have colors, we have fonts. Next thing I'm going to do is kind of do some fun stuff. Let's change these icons. So let's see what options we have for list items. So li icon options CSS. Okay, so it looks like we have circles, squares, alphas. Squares can be fun. I would love to do some kind of like, oh, you can do an image. Yeah. I mean, even like an arrow would be cute. Salmon list with colors. Oh, that's cute too. Okay, so essentially all we need to do is just like list style and then square inside URL. Those are so cute. Okay. I feel though, like I don't know if adding like using an image is within the spirit of it. So let's try just doing some squares. So list style type square. So let's just try UL. That's within the sidebar. So I'm going to put that over here. So UL and list style type square. Yeah, that's cute. All right. And then I would love to do some kind of borders or backgrounds or something, maybe something even animated. Also, this is kind of goofy here. These are also goofy. Okay, so this is footer. So footer A, text transform capitalize. I want to have something between it. So footer A, actually, let's do something different here. After, and let's see if we can do an icon. How to add icons. Yeah, font awesome icons. Yeah, so why don't we do some icons for these actually? I like font awesome. So let me get my little link to put in here. And look different now. Actually, okay, I'm taking a look at the time, and only have about 15 minutes left if I'm going to stay within an hour. So I'm going to not do that right now and see what else we can do within the next 15 minutes or so. So by Dave Shea, bandwidth graciously donated by Media Temple, now available as Vanguard in the book. Okay, this is all fine. And yeah, let's do some kind of like maybe some kind of border or something kind of fun. So we do have a page wrapper div, I believe. Yes. So page wrapper. I just want to see like where that is. So solid 1 pixel black. And I know I did yesterday that I was told that there's like a way to do that. Okay. Yeah, so I like that actually. I'm going to make it a little bit wider and maybe like a dash border. And then I also want to add a little bit of margin to it, so it's a little bit further away from the page. So let's do maybe dash 2 pixel black. And then the page wrapper, I want to do margin maybe like all the way around of, I don't know, like 3%. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. I'm digging it. We'll have to fix this again, but I like this. So just constantly fixing this. That's what I get for doing things without actually using like grid or flexbox. But 45% margin bottom. Let's see if that's enough. So close. So close. There we go. Okay. So you got kind of a cool, so let's look up something fun, like CodePen, maybe like CSS, animation, like circles. CSS animated circles. There's like a cool, oh, you know what might be kind of fun is like a film grain effect CSS CodePen. This is how I find things. Here we go. Film grain effect in CSS. Let's see. Let's see which ones, if we can find one that looks cool. Same one. Looks like there's all kinds of compass and fun stuff in there. These are all the same. Kitten. Oh, we could add some box shadow. That would be something kind of cool. Maybe to our H1. So let's see, CSS box shadow property. So our H1, I'm also going to make this a little bit bigger, I think, like 60. And let's do box shadow. Oh, let's just do like 5 pixels. 5 pixels. And this is probably way off, but I just need to be able to see it first. And then okay, that was kind of cool. Kind of just adds like a graphic element to it. Okay, I would love to have some lines going on the side, but we have about 10 minutes left. Any suggestions on what you'd like to see as far as to kind of just like round this out and add some more elements to it? I bet actually I could do some cool. I have an idea to add something kind of visual over here on the left-hand side. So if I do an intro, if I do border left, And if I do solid 10 pixel black, and then I add padding left of like, I don't know, like 10% maybe, it should give us like a really thick rectangle. Yes, okay, okay. I like that. I do. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. What else can we do? Maybe maybe we'll do something similar with a border bottom between the requirements to kind of break that up visually. So on requirements, we can do border top, kind of the same thing, like a solid 10 pixel black, and then have a padding top of also maybe like 5%, and kind of see what that does. Oh, I put that on the wrong. That's weird. Maybe I need to do it as a border bottom on main instead. Solid 10 pixel black. Let's just see where that ends up. Okay, yes, except I need it to be, okay, yeah, see, I don't think that's gonna work. Okay. Actually, let's go ahead and do this in the bottom of requirements. That way it'll be a border between the footer. So border bottom, solid 10 pixel black, and then padding bottom 5%. There we go. Okay, I like that. I like that. I think I'm going to do instead of having it the intro be like margin auto, I'm going to do margin left 10%, and then margin right auto, and see if that makes things a little, yes. I'm going to do 15% because I don't want it to be exactly lined up. That's perfect. And I want to give requirements a little tiny bit more of padding on top. It's not working. Let me try doing a margin top instead. Whenever there's a float, it always like throws me off completely. Okay. Instead, on the sidebar, we're just going to change this to 45%, and that should do it. It didn't. It didn't. I don't know why. I don't know why. Let's try. Okay, I have an idea. So I'm going to change this back to 40. So the requirements, I'm going to add the padding to the H1. Requirements H, I think that's an H1. Actually, it might be an H3. It is an H3. Okay. So H3, we're going to add padding top of 5%. I'm just making sure that it's like I do 50%, like. Okay, so then maybe it needs to be. Okay, I've officially given up on this. You got 5 minutes left, so Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm digging this so far. I think I do maybe want to transform some of these H3s. Actually, I really want to do something with this footer. I feel like I wish that there was a way for me to do something after where I add something, but, or maybe I will do break. Well, I can definitely make the font bigger. Let's try that. Let's start with that. So font size, like 24 pixels. No, I don't like that. Interesting. What other text decoration options do we have? Set. Maybe we'll just make it bold. Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so it is 8:27. I think I'm probably any other, I mean, anything in the last few minutes that you'd like to see done. Like I said, I was giving myself an hour. It is, let me just double check and see if it's still responsive. That's the other big part of this. So on iPad, still looks good. Even, okay, so let me just change that media query. So, so that the intro, we have border left of none. And that margin of auto. There we go. I don't know if I'm doing a media query, if I'm overwriting, if I need to specify left and right. Oh, it's padding left. I gotta take that out. That's why. Okay, so margin auto, and then padding left is gonna be none. That didn't change it. So yeah, maybe I do need to do margin left auto and then margin right auto. No, I'm still getting, you know what? Maybe it has something to do with the, go ahead and change that back. So let me see what else I have going on here. Anything goofy? Anything goofy? Margin left, margin right, border left, padding left, 10%, 50%. Okay, I think I do need to take out that padding left, but I don't want to make it, maybe just padding none. I don't think you can do padding none. I think it just needs to be a value. Maybe that's why. So maybe padding left is 0 pixels. There we go. Okay, yeah, so you can't just do none for padding. Looks like you have to actually specify a value. So yeah, so now this looks good on iPad. It looks good on, okay, I mean, that still looks fine. I'm okay with that. I can live with it. You know, this is also like a super thin phone. I think have a little bit more room. And then on the actual full website, you get the column breakdown and you have the cool border and everything. So, all right. So yes, we've been live for just about an hour. Thank you very much for watching. I'm yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to go ahead and push it to GitHub and submit it for my challenge, given that I had an hour and that I just CSS, man, love it, hate it, can, you know, it is what it is. And thanks for you know, for being here and for watching. And I hope that you learned something. I definitely learned a few things today, just by freshening up on these skills. So definitely recommend doing this at some point on your own, you know, giving yourself a time limit and just seeing what you can do with CSS. If I had more time, I definitely would have liked to have explored some more code pens, do some animation, you know, effects and things of that nature. But given what we were working with, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty sharp. So thanks again for joining, and same time next week. And next week we will be resuming the regular project. So if you're watching this specifically for CSS, just so you know, normally I work on a MERN stack app built with React, obviously, but yeah, React, MySQL, Express, and then Node. And it's like a local music app, still very much in the early stages. The past episodes are available on YouTube. They're not all of them are available here on Twitch. So definitely also you can give me a follow on Twitter, CeceliaCreates at Twitter, and I always post the links there once they're up as well. So again, thanks for joining and have a great night.